To the left, we have the LG C10. To the right, we have the Sony A8G. And yes, folks, it is this dramatic of a difference. If you've come here to maybe watch LG put up a fight and defend itself in any way, shape, and or form, you're going to be woefully amazed. I know what you must be thinking, but Arting said, I don't give a fuck what Arting said. They lied to you, and I'm going to show you that in the most absolute of proofs you've ever seen on an internet video, okay? You think I'm playing? Get ready. And for those in the back who are like, oh, he's lying, he's blatantly lying, buckle up, Buttercup. This is gonna hurt. Okay, so let's get started. First, we're gonna open up the picture settings of the LG C10. First thing you can notice is we're in ISF Bright Room. This has been calibrated further, okay? So this is the best it can look. While I tried to deviate from reference accuracy a little bit to try to give it something else, because after a reference accurate calibration, it didn't look very good at all. So I have energy mode off. Now I'm gonna dismount from the tripod here, and we're just gonna walk over, okay? And so one of the things you're gonna see is we have energy mode off. Then we're gonna go into the settings, where you're gonna notice the following. I have 70 on the OLED light. Most people use 60 on the OLED light. So I've seen people go down to 25 as well. Now for anybody wondering, if you are in a dark room, reference accurate is 25. That will give you about 110 CDM squared or nits, and that is what you will find on this particular OLED model. You can test it out yourself. That is your proof that I have done a reference accurate calibration. We go down to contrast, and I have it set to 93. I just find that it helps this TV fight a little bit better. I could always drop it down to 80 or something lower. If you think that this is a little too high, let me know in the comments. I'll do everything you think this TV needs done to it to help it win, but I'm telling you right now, it ain't gonna happen. Black levels are set to 50. This TV struggles with black crush, and I found this is the only way to get around it. Now, there's a weird little bug that happens where when watching USB footage, black crush was a lot more prevalent when a USB was plugged in than when I went over the HDMI. So I don't know what that's all about. Maybe it's the new HDMI 2.0 and maybe some older USB connection, something that you might want to be aware of. Using my USB footage, black crush was pretty rampant. It's still here, but it's nowhere near as bad. So at least that's the bright side of the suffering here that you guys are about to go through on the LG side of things. And I'm not even kidding. I keep saying that, but it'll drive it home, okay? And we're at 10 on the sharpness because I find that gives it enough sharpness without being too overly sharpened. I don't notice any aliasing or anything like that. And we can confirm that by going over and looking at the building here. Again, we don't notice any real aliasing or anything like that. No ringing, no haloing. So 10 on the sharpness is absolutely just fine. And I use 50 color because that is the reference accurate color. And also, most people, when they dial in a TV, they just run straight to 50 color because, you know, Arting's told them to do so. Now, 10, we leave that alone. And under the advanced controls, I have dynamic contrast off. All this is going to do is destroy your image. Now, I don't have to tell you this, but I'm gonna tell you this. Okay, so under the dynamic contrast setting, if you look here, if you go to low, low will give you more shadow detail. So if you're having a problem with black crush, use low. But the problem with using low is that it will immediately wash out your image, like so. I don't know if you see the buildings, but when I turn it off, you gain more color in the buildings, and when I turn it on, everything just kind of washes out and gets brighter. You don't want that. So then you want to go to medium. If you turn on medium, I want you to pay close attention to this black building right here, okay? Let me see if I can get my little cursor out so I can show you. This black building right here, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click that right there, and everything around it got more saturated, but you can't see it very well. This black building lost a ton of detail. It just started crushing. So before, it's really hard to show. It's probably not going to show up on YouTube. And after, it starts crushing. Now, the nice thing about medium tone maps closer to what Sony would do. So you get a little bit more throw behind the highlights, but the blacks crush way too much, and that's something you don't want. And of course, high is just a total mess. You don't even want to use it. It's even more black crush than medium, and I don't recommend it. So for this, I leave it off because even though the best way to set it would be on low, it comes at the loss of too much color, as you guys can clearly see here. And medium, as you guys see here, juices up color a little way too much, and it crushes out things. I would be okay with the overjuicing of color, but the crushing out is unforgivable. So that's why we did that like that. Okay, super resolution off. color gamut is set to automatic. This is what everybody is going to tell you to do, and this is what 99.9% of the OLED users talking about reference accuracy use. You use gamma at 2.2. Some people say 2.4. That is incorrect. That is not the correct gamma point. I'm not going to be giving away my white balance or my color management information because that is nobody's business, because I'm not giving away that stuff for totally free. And for the peak brightness, I even set it to low, which is something that most people don't do. Now, you can try to set it to high or medium, but all that's going to do is just make the picture overly bright. Now, I've got my PS4 timed out here, so I've got to go back in the back. But guys, let me just tell you, I was as fair as a human being could possibly be when trying to construct not only settings, but a comparison that was meaningful and impactful for everybody. Yeah, I did everything I could for this TV, okay? So there you see it. It's on low. And then for my picture options here, I've got both noise reductions off. Smooth gradation is on the maximum to try to help it compete better with Sony. We've got black level set to low. We've got motion eye care off, right? And true motion set to user. And then of course, under that, I just leave it like it is. Now, I usually go in and I raise everything up, but I was playing around with some other stuff earlier, so don't mind that. Now, the reason black level is set to low is because that is the correct setting for SDR. I saw a couple comments on my last video like, hey Quantum, why is it set to low? It must be set to low when you're talking about standard dynamic range, because if you go to high, high represents RGB full, which is only needed for PCs, and TVs don't really do that. If I set it to RGB or RGB full, which is the high, look what happens to the image. It gets so much better for Black Crush, but you wash out the image on a massive scale. Anyone with the LG OLED will tell you that. So it's kind of an old trick, but if you want to avoid Black Crush, you can raise it to high and experience a load more of the kind of haziness to the image and try to go into brightness and crush down the blacks a little bit to try to get around that, but that's not ideal. So you have to use low, which is the correct black level for this HDMI signal, and that's just the way it is. Now, if you select auto sometimes will default to low, as you see it doing here for PlayStation, so it just defaulted to low, so I just obviously know what to select. But sometimes, in a rare case scenario, it will select high when it notices that it's crushing too much to try to get around that. It's a dirty little trick I think LG programmed their algorithm to do, because I've seen it happen a couple times in some content pieces, so food for thought there. All right, now that we got that out of the way, and you guys can clearly see the settings on the OLED here, and you see that we're at 50, and you see that, again, no funny tricks here, right? Okay, well, buckle up. Oh, and just for shits and giggles, if I open up my picture settings on my Sony, I don't know if you guys can see that, but the color on my Sony, I'm in Cinema Home, by the way, which is notoriously known for being the most desaturated mode on a Sony TV, so this isn't even one of the main most saturated modes. I did that on purpose, of course. And check this out, I'm at 48 color, so all the beatdown that you're about to see is going to be at 48 color max brightness in just Cinema Home. So that's all I'm going to say there. I'm pretty sure you can already notice some massive differences between LG, who's rocking more color. I actually desaturated the Sony a great deal to try to help it, bro. I even disabled, I wish I could open up the settings, but it'll just show you all my settings, which I'm totally not doing. But I tell you right now, I took my Sony out of Warm 2, which is where my calibration is, my Expert 2 calibration, and I put it in Expert 1. And even with doing that, it did not do anything to help as much as it should give LG the advantage, but you'll see what I'm talking about. So when we look at this image, the main thing we notice is the sky. Notice how the clouds have far less color. I mean, you're talking less color here. You're noticing the sun is not isolated correctly. You don't have the God rays popping down from the sky here. The isolation over the buildings, the general three-dimensionality is very flat. It looks like a 2D image and not a 3D image. And that's the real theme with the LG C10. Now, if we go over to an image like this, it's again more of the same story. Sony has that three-dimensional draw, especially in areas like this, where on the C10, it's just flat. Also, if you look at the cloud detail, LG is far less cloud-like and more 2D flat IPS looking. As weird as that sounds, that's what it kind of looks like. Again, this is with a reference accurate calibration. I'll show you with juiced up settings, of course, but with reference accurate stuff, this is what it looks like, and it does not look pretty, right? And then on the Sony, it's just bang fucking on, dude. Like, those cloud details do not lie, my guys. Like, so serious. And then you can look at this image. This is not as bad, but you can clearly see the lack of color coming off of the LG. Let me remind everybody right now that LG right now is on 50 color, and this is reference accurate, and the Sony is rocking the 48 color. So let's say you feel like it's unfair at this stage. You're like, I don't care about reference accuracy. God damn it, make LG look better. I realize a lot of people were saying, show standard mode. Nobody wanted to see the ISF bright mode. And I kind of know that you guys know that this is why you don't want to see ISF bright mode. Because you know that the ISF professional modes aren't much of shit. And you know when you lock in arting settings, it's not going to be much of shit. So, of course, you rely on guys like me to create fantastic settings that will help your LG C10 do a little better, and lo and behold, it can get a little closer to Sony with my juicing up. Now, here's the before in ISF mode. You see that? Reference accurate. And here's after I do a little extra magic to it. You get a little bit more pull to get a little closer to that level of intensity that Sony's kicking out, but you're not there yet. And for anybody wondering at this stage in the video, I have my OLED light on 80, I have contrast at 95, and color set to 56, okay? I mean, any higher and then we'd be at a point where nobody would really be comfortable with, right? Let's be honest, most people watching this video, again, use 50 color. And we're gonna go down, I have color temperature set to W50. Another important setting to note, I'm not using any dynamic contrast enhancers. I even have dynamic color on medium. If you think that's unfair, you can turn that off. It just kind of mutes the color a bit more. Medium is just fine. I use wide on the color gamut, which literally almost every single enthusiast tells you not to do. They tell you to go to auto, which you see what happens when you go to auto. You see what happens when you go to extended. You are nowhere close to what Sony is offering. Now, auto will give you a little bit more detail, but you're lacking a hell of a lot of color. And that's the theme with LG OLED, specifically the C10. And then you go to wide, and then it gets a little closer to what Sony is able to offer. Again, we have super resolution on low because Lord knows this TV needs it, and gamut is set to medium. If I went lower, it would start black crushing, and I just can't have that. Now for peak brightness, it's really sucky because you have this high setting, which definitely throws out more brightness, but throwing out that extra brightness only makes the TV get really sloppy. And when you go down through medium and all that other stuff, the best one that retains your detail perfectly while still giving you the correct luminosity levels is going to be low. Low is the best peak brightness level for this TV. And I think, again, that's a damn shame because LG had a lot of room to improve. Now, I have both noise reductions on for this because, again, this TV needs it. Smooth gradation high because it needs it for the banding, and black level set to low. I don't use motion eye care, and then under true user mode, then I have everything pumped up. Now, a nice nifty little thing that I found with the C10 is if you go under OLED Motion Pro and you just go to low, it will dim the image down a little bit more, but it does add a little bit more in the way of clarity. And on top of giving you a little bit more in the way of clarity, it also gives you better motion. But again, that comes at the expense of more peak brightness, and for this, it cannot spare it going up against the Sony A8G, so I disable it. But that's a little nice pro tip. All right, so those are the settings that I'm rocking. I'm not gonna go into white balance stuff. I'm sure everybody will have their opinions at the end of the day about that, so I'll leave that where it is. But this is my juiced up setting mode, not even the reference accurate modes that you're watching Arting's Digital Trends and HD TV Test compare all of these other TVs with. And let's not even talk about people like the Villaman, FOMO, all these guys whipping shit out of the box and just doing comparisons and saying, yeah, see, it's better. Yeah, the reason you're watching a lot of people say that LG's close to Sony is because they're using default unoptimized settings. When you optimize the Sony and actually fucking try to get Sony where it is actually supposed to be using your tools at your disposal, it's not even close, man. The hues in the sky right now on the Sony, way more the water, more three-dimensionality, more gradations of blue. The theme here is Sony is more 3D and has more pencils in the pencil box to make an image. The colors are just so much better. And that's just the reality. I've been saying it from day one, and I'm going to show you today. We can go to images like this, where you're noticing a vast difference. And again, these are with juiced up settings, okay? So could you imagine something that was reference accurate, or what most people would use when they rock 50 color? Well, you don't have to guess, because I'm going to show you. Okay, we're gonna go to Expert Dark. I haven't even touched Expert Dark, and it's just really dark. You have a lot of detail, but it's just really crushed out and dark. You go to ISF Bright Room, and that's just more of the same. You go to Filmmaker mode, which is supposed to be this really accurate mode, and that looks a little better, but it's like super crazy, stupid dim. And so your only Hail Mary, your only saving grace is to try to juice up settings a little bit more here. And that's what we have right here. Now, honestly speaking, I was trying really hard to kind of come up with something for this TV, and I came up with goose egg like a lot of the time. Now, I'm gonna go to an image like this to just show the differences in color. Like, it's blatant. It's not even close. And when you look at images like this, it becomes like a true story. Like when you see like a lot of people that say that Sony is better because of the processing, look at the level of blue right now. The cyan that you're looking at right here to the right is way outweighing anything that you have on the LG. You look at skin tonalities, you look at the color red. The color red I gripe about all the time. Well, you're seeing it here, and if you can't, I'm sorry, but I'm telling you right now, there's a big difference. I mean, the three-dimensionality, the clarity, like, get out of here, LG. Like, you're getting stomped. Like, and this is going to be a one-sided piece here, because that's how it is. It really is one-sided like that. Now, as you guys see, I was able to pull back on that black crush quite substantially on the LG C10 post-calibration. But again, as you're seeing, because yes, even standard mode was calibrated. It was calibrated, but not kept to reference accurate. I just wanted to make that distinguishing feature here for everybody wondering. Now, when we look, we can see a very clear difference here. We can see the Sony to the right absolutely dominating in clarity. And again, this theme is going to continue. I don't care what image you throw up on the screen. It is a world of difference, a whirlwind assault on the LG C10. And by all means, you can feel however you want about it. But for the people running out and saying that this difference isn't what it is, and it's fanboy drivel, LG makes the panel. Again, Sony makes the class-leading processing that LG is trying to rip off with features like their smooth gradation, which, by the way, fell on its ass by comparison. And again, with precision color mapping on Sony, on the X1 Extreme chip, you're not coming close to that on LG. I'm sorry, that's just reality. Post-calibration, I'm speaking from experience. Both sets are actually in front of me. Regardless of what anyone can say in the comment section, I'm in front of both sets in real time, and I'm showing you exactly what I'm seeing. And what I'm seeing is fucking horrifying. Look at the orange. Look at the hues. Bro, Sony at level 48. Level 48 is, bro, let's show you something. For everybody that needs to understand this right now, because I don't think you understand. When I say that Sony is so much more vibrant than LG, I'm not joking. When I say Sony looks a lot more like a QLED than LG, I'm not joking. I'm in Cinema Home, the most undersaturated mode a Sony has to offer, right? Not even like standard, because it was not fair when I did that. Everybody would have complained. They would have swore I was rigging something, right? Okay. And I even turned off Expert 2 calibration, as I mentioned earlier. So check this out. We're in LG right now. Let's say Quantum, you're clearly going out of your way to keep LG at 56 because you know it's terrible. Why not raise the color? Let's see how high we have to raise the color before it starts looking like the Sony. Let's just see. We've got to raise it real fucking high, I tell you that right now. We're now at 80. I'd say around about 85, it comes close to looking like the Sony. And even with doing that, even with putting it at 85, it's just oversaturated now. It looks cartoonish. Like the colors are bleeding everywhere where Sony is actually precise. And you can see the colors that you're supposed to have. And this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about when I tell you that this is what those influencers, those affiliate marketers don't tell you when they glow up and say, oh yeah, the C10 is so much better. Is it? Is it? I'll show you it on 85 color if you think I'm being unfair. Now, keep in mind again, my TV's at 48 color on the Sony A8G. 48 color is all it took to destroy the LG C10. So could you imagine something higher? Could you? Because I mean, like, it would be nasty. I would love to do that to you, but I've got a heart, you see, and I'm not gonna do you like that. I'm not gonna do you like that. But what I am gonna do is show you reality, the unbridled truth about Sony versus LG OLED. And this is only round one of a very thorough ass kicking that a lot of LG fanboys have been long overdue for. Now, keep in mind, when we go to scenes like this is with it at 85 color. Let's go back to what all y'all are doing. Right? All y'all are over here on 50 color, right? So let's show you what that actually looks like. And this, by the way, is using wide, which most will tell you use auto. So let me show you what that looks like real quick. This is so fun for me because all you talk all that crap. Okay, we're gonna go back down to 56. I won't drop it quite to 50 because that's just mean, right? 50 right there. This is the true nature of an LG OLED going up against a really optimized Sony. Somebody that actually knows what the fuck they're doing and actually takes the time to calibrate, to adjust, to augment, to take advantage of all of the capabilities of the display. And you know what? I disabled my calibration on my Sony, so I can't even say that. Because if I were to go into my settings right now and show you my Expert 2 calibration, it would be raps. It would be a rap right now. You would be crying, this is the most unfair comparison I've ever seen in my entire life, if you're not already typing that in the comments. But the reality is we're gonna go over, and now we're gonna go down, and we're gonna go into advanced. And let's go into, what do you say, by the way, that was medium dynamic color. Yo, let's pump that shit to high. It's not gonna make a difference. LG's processing does virtually nothing to help it out. And then we're already on wide color. So could you imagine if I was at auto, like everybody else recommends? I know you see that. Tell me you see that right now. And let's turn dynamic color off because, you know, extra picture processing is garbage. Just delete, right? I know you see that right now. You see how ugly that is. And if you don't, let me show you. This is the kind of picture that these professionals are whipping out of the box and telling you, this is it. This is the king of 2020. This TV right here will change all your lives. This is it. This is your king. Yo, let me show you my king that has been dominating for the better part of 2 fucking years and why it's been dominating. I'm gonna show you clarity. I'm gonna show you color. I'm gonna show you brightness. I'm gonna show you black levels. I'm gonna show you natural skin tonalities, not muted, ugly red bullshit that doesn't look right. I'm gonna show you everything I said from day one got slammed on every forum, got trash talked, got shit talked. Bro, y'all went down lanes that you really shouldn't have gone down with me. I've got people trying to call me an amateur calibrator. If I'm an amateur, how the hell did I manage to show up not only the ISF bright room mode, which contrary to popular belief has been pre-adjusted to be one of the most accurate modes in an LG OLED display, right next to filmmaker mode, which is supposed to be the most accurate, right? Which, to their credit, they are rocking the, again, 110 nit target to account for a little bit extra. But I tell you right now, how am I beating them if I'm not a professional? You guys know what it is. It's typical fanboy drivel, and you're seeing it in faces like Mary Jane. Now let's go ahead, since I think you get the point right now. 50 color, and anybody, and I'm gonna say this right now on record, anybody rocking 50 color is a fucking joke. They're a quack. They don't know what they're doing on an LG display. That is not how you watch image quality. It is muted and it's dead. They're gonna try to tell you you need to let your eyes adjust to this bullshit. You can do that while I rock my Sony and enjoy every bit of it looking beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna go to wide on the color gamut, which is something they usually heavily condemn. We can go up to high on dynamic color. It's not gonna make a difference. It's not gonna save it. And you're gonna see that in clear time right here, right? There it is. Proof's in the pudding, folks. And the pudding tastes quite bitter right about now, I'd imagine, for all the LG guys that have been really the most nasty to me I think I could ever imagine. And this video is for you, the person that has a mouth on them, the person that needs to see this long drawn out comparison of Sony Reds versus LG Reds, like the flowers, forget about it, okay? This is for the person that really needs a thorough understanding of LG versus Sony, or maybe somebody who's on the fence and doesn't understand why all the mainstream reviews are saying how wonderful, how beautiful, how transformative. Look at the last decade. Look at the last 7 years of product reviews. They have all been doing the same thing. Anytime there's a new product that comes out where there's commission or favor given, they're gonna glow about it because it's a conflict of interest. They're getting paid to tell you how good it is. Haven't you ever thought something was up when they're doing all these fancy B-roll footages where they have this slick motion showing off the product, showcasing and advertising the product? Dudes are out here legit shooting fucking commercials and you're slopping that shit down your gullet, okay? The reality is when you have real people like me go on for 24 minutes and really put this through the ringer, really show it as it is against something that is fully dialed in correctly, there is no competition. There will never be a competition because LG year after year gets told it's perfect. LG year after year gets told you never have to improve. Well, let me show you what that looks like. It looks like this. This, ladies and gentlemen, is true domination. And this is only part one. If you think after part one, it's gonna get any easier from here on out, I haven't shown movies yet. I haven't shown anime, I haven't shown skin tones, I haven't shown sports, I haven't shown anything, dude. And you're already seeing with video game footage, just video game footage, how bad it can be. Oh, I know what you must be thinking. Quantum, even though it's USB footage, you should show us game mode. Okay, I could do that if you want. I absolutely, actually, factually can do that for you. There's your game mode right there. There it is. There's your game mode. You wanna run the clip back? You wanna see it start over? Sure. Check that out. Now, granted, again, I did what I could to try to get it as close to this as possible. But you guys, look at the intensity of the red, even after a really juiced up calibration, which I will not be giving out for free. I'm telling you right now, it's nowhere near the Sony. The skin tones are way off. Everybody looks dead. There's a general lack of ambiance in this scene. Again, that's the moral of the story on an LG OLED. Now, also, I rock Cinema Home. Let's do that here as well. And you can see cinema to cinema, again, fully calibrated, reference accurate. And gosh, which one would I choose? Let's roll the clip back in. No, we'll let Miles Morales walk on scene here. And you'll get the full picture, I promise. Just wait for it. Man, cinema to cinema, I'm rocking 48 color, man. And on the cinema here, I'm rocking the default 50 color. And boy, wouldn't you know, Sony is exploding with the color red versus LG, which they can barely even keep up. Oh, but wait, I thought the faces were supposed to be oversaturated because I'm some crazy guy that doesn't, yeah, you guys know what it is. So, I hope this really thorough part one can give you just a little glimpse of what you're in for and what you're up against. Because the best mode that I saw was standard, as requested by many of you guys, and not even that could hold a candle to my best and brightest. That being said, if you have suggestions on how you think the settings should be set up, let all you professional calibrators come out and tell me how to dial it in right down to a T, and I'll show you those settings against my TV, and I promise you, it'll still fucking lose. There's a massive lack of color on the LG C10, and anyone trying to claim otherwise really hasn't been putting other TVs through the ringer. If you're coming from an old 12-year-old TV, by all means, go right ahead and think what you want. But the reality is, this is pain.